Yeah, this is a good exercise for developing these last two. This would be something in the key of E minor, and it would be a stretching a fourth. So you're going from E to A. The lick itself is going to be starting on the B string, and I'm going to do B, D, and E. And then I'm going to reach up and get the G note with my third finger. It's also a good exercise for the third finger, having to do that little rocking motion. Now I'm going to alternate. The next time I'm going to go to the A note instead of the G with my pinky. So I'm getting directly from the E to the A with that one pinky. And I'm going to alternate between the two, which will sound like this. Again, I'm not picking everything. I'm doing like two quick pick notes. And that's a good sounding lick, and it's good for the coordination of the two hands. And also good for these fingers, definitely. The string skipping stuff, I had gone to school and I had learned about arpeggios that existed in music, all kinds of music, and one of them was a minor seventh arpeggio. And I think initially I learned sweep picking shapes for it, or I would learn sort of more traditional I don't know what you call it, like jazz shapes or something. And so I was familiar with the note choice, but I don't know, I don't remember exactly how I did it, but I thought, maybe I could get it, the notes that way, was skipping over a string to get one of those big intervals. And it really worked well with my existing legato techniques. I already had techniques that I could do with scales, where I would do 3 notes on a string, 3 notes on the next string, and 1 note on the string below. And just, going up and down. So if I took that same 3, 3, 1 pattern and applied it to string skipping, and I could get some really cool arpeggios. This is, again, that A minor 7th arpeggio. So I'm getting notes out of A minor 7th, and I'm getting that same pattern, 3 notes, 3 notes, and 1 note. And the techniques required were exactly the same as what I was doing already, so it required 0 new practice. Now, it gave me a sound similar to sweep picking in that the intervals were big, but I found that it was much easier because I had a vocabulary of legato and hammer-on pull-off licks already for the smaller stuff that I could apply to this. I could do like a thirds pattern or fours, just little things like that, or many different variations. And it was really easy to make transitions between my regular licks and this, because this felt like my regular licks. It was based on the same techniques, it was just stretching out a little wider. So I like that. I mean, so much of my solo playing has come from learning something very simple and expanding on it. And this is exactly that same principle, just taking something where I'm not stretching so much and stretching out, and suddenly, boom, it's a whole new sound. Well, there's lots of ways. I mean, the first thing I thought of when you said that was actually when I went to school and learned how to harmonize a major scale. And by that, I mean I would take a chord. This is the one they showed us anyway. This is a C major 7th chord, and it's voiced 1 being the root, the 5th interval, the 7th interval, and the 3rd interval. And we would take each note in that chord and move it up 1 note in the scale. When you do that, you get this chord, which is a different kind of chord. It becomes a D minor 7th, but it still fits into the same key signature. And I'm using a lot of big terms here, and I do recommend finding a teacher to explain exactly what they are. And it's really easy when you look at it on paper. It's a nice mathematical architecture. And as well as looking nice on paper, it sounds good. When you do all the chords in the entire scale, it'll sound like this. Now, it's not the most heavy metal sounding thing in the world, but it does sound good. And all those chords are in the same key center. So in other words, you could play the shape of a C major scale. And depending on what note you finish on, that shape is going to fit over any one of these chords. And I can play the D chord, and I can play the same shape as long as I land on the right chord. Or I could do the same thing with maybe the G chord. Each time I'm playing that same shape, but it works with all these chords. So when I learned that, I didn't just see it as, oh, here's some new jazz chords and I can learn jazz. I saw it as, now I can take one rock lick and I can move it up all over the neck in the same key. And it really expanded how I looked at soloing. I could take something really simple like an ascending 6. It's got 6 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and ascending it goes up. And then I could start on the next step of the scale, change the fingering to be in that scale, to stay within the key signature. Start on the next step, next step, next step, all the way up. And I just love that idea. I could take one lick and I could multiply it by 7, and that's a lot of extra stuff you get. So it suddenly made the whole fretboard available to me, where before if I was in A minor, I'd be stuck here. And suddenly I could play all over the place, and that was exciting. I forgot what the question was at the beginning.
Creativity.
Oh, yeah. So that was one way of very intellectually creating new ideas for the fretboard. I would say, besides that, one of the best ways to be creative with the instrument is to drop your pick on the floor. I would say, besides that, one of the best things is to get rhythmic ideas. Because there's only so many notes on the guitar, and it's very easy, especially when you're practicing technique, to forget about the rhythm and to just think, I want to play a scale up and down as fast as I possibly can, and I want to come up with 1,000,000 16th note patterns, and I want to pick them very fast. And so much of the beauty and coolness of music is involved in the rhythms and the spaces in between. And to me, a great way to come up with that is to choose a rhythm or a tempo, and you can just scratch it out on the guitar and start improvising along with it. And you can do it with another guitar player and trade off, which is really fun, or you can just do it by yourself. And what you begin to find is very simple things will be very powerful. When you don't have a rhythm, simple things aren't that interesting. It's how they relate to the rhythm that makes them cool. So you got to have the rhythm as your bass. And you start adding things in. So that's just, I start having fun with it. I'll be here for an hour doing that. But to me, that's really enjoyable, and all kinds of ideas come out of it.